What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast. Well, actually, technically, a bonus episode of Team Chat Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined virtually, because we're doing a little bit of a different setup here. Rachel Mogan on the left side of the screen. Hey, it still works out. No, it doesn't. It's backwards. To the left side of the screen, Rachel Mogan, and to the right, Zachary Parks.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, so yeah, we're doing a quick little bonus because we wanted to talk about our thoughts and reactions to the Game Awards. I was traveling, so we're doing it a little bit late, and thus for the different setup than what you're used to, all of us over webcam instead of in the same room. What is this?
Is this the first time we've done this?
Yeah, all three of us. This is the first remote coding. Remote recording. Yeah, this is the first time. So special day. But anyway, so let's just go ahead and jump right into it. We don't need to go through the normal spiel, but yeah. So the Game Awards happened last Thursday, December 7th, and should we? Okay, so I know Mogan and I are pretty familiar with what happened. Zach, you doesn't. Do you just want to go ahead and know right off the bat who won Game of the Year? Shall we hit the big news first?
Well, give me.
Yes.
Do I?
Give one.
One guess. I think my guess is the same as what it was on our last show, and I really think Horizon Zero Dawn won.
You are incorrect.
No.
So
okay. So that means Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild.
It did.
So
wow.
So here's the thing, Zach. Horizon Zero, and I'm so salty about this still. I'm so mad. Horizon Zero Dawn didn't win a single thing.
I can't believe that. So I can't say that I'm really surprised that they didn't win Game of the Year. I think that Breath of the Wild,
it was going to be a toss-up between them and Breath of the Wild.
Sure.
But I'm genuinely shocked that they didn't win in any of the categories they were nominated for.
I know.
And the one that I really thought they were going to get was Best Performance by the actress.
I did. I really thought that too. Melina Juergens she was the lead actress in Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, which, okay, so after reading up on that a little bit more, that is actually a really cool story because she is the video editor for Ninja Theory, the developer who made Hellblade. She's their video editor. She was the stand-in for them while they were doing early mocap sessions for Senua in this game. And then she apparently did such a great job and all this stuff that they were just like, hey, do you just want to do it? And she was like, yeah, sure. So that's how she landed the role. While doing that, while performing and doing the role, she still kept up with her video editing requirements for the company and produced and created a development diary video series about the game, all while starring in it. So
So Zach, you have no more excuses for being busy with work. You can clearly just do it all.
Yeah, so
that's big. I didn't know that either. That's really impressive.
Yeah, so after I heard that story, I was like, okay, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty cool.
Was there any other department they lost in that you were like they should have won? Any other category?
I mean, other than Game of the Year and everything else they were nominated for, yeah. No, they didn't win anything. The only other one that I was okay with them not winning was obviously Art Direction, which went to Cuphead, thank God.
Okay, nice.
That was the most, I feel like that's the one that everyone can agree. That's like the least controversial decision ever.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it was obviously Cuphead. No one else even comes close. Even Breath of the Wild, which was also in that category.
Which is
like, no.
Which is really funny. Hellblade and Cuphead actually did really well. Both those games did really well. I think they won
surprisingly well in everything.
Which, okay, so our last episode where we talked about our year in review, it hasn't come out yet by the time this is out, so it's coming out tomorrow. I'm going to release this Monday morning. But so in that episode, like I say at the end how the games that I want to play in 2018 that I missed this year were both Cuphead and Hellblade. And now because of this, like, oh my God, I want to get into those games so fast. But yeah, Cuphead wound up winning for Best Indie Game, Best Art Direction, and Best Debut from an indie studio. So they did really, really well. And then Hellblade picked up a couple more. What did Hellblade get? Hellblade got Best Audio Design, Best Performance, and
it won Game for Change.
Impact, games for Impact. Yeah. So
Impact, that's the word, sorry.
So yeah, so it was it did really, really well. The only other thing that was fun is that Overwatch won Game of the Year last year and it won Best Ongoing Game this year. So people still obviously loving the Overwatch.
Oh, that's
which I think is great. it beat out like League of Legends and stuff. So I was like, yes,
Yeah.
finally.
So that was always very good. So yeah, that was my big whole takeaway of this whole thing. Obviously, like I felt like I just can't believe I'm still getting over the fact that Horizon didn't win a single damn thing.
Yeah, that sucks. I'm gonna be so ignorant here. I don't even know what the hell. What is Hellblade?
Hellblade is one that was made. It was like an independent game release. It takes place, from what I can understand of the story, it takes place. It's like Norse during the time of the Vikings. Senua is a Viking warrior, and I believe her husband dies or is killed, something like that. I believe is how the story kicks off, and it's something with her either coping with his death or trying to transition with him to Valhalla, kind of thing. But it obviously, like, his death has a major impact on her and her psyche, and so it actually is more of like an exploration into her mind as she fights against massive, like, I think the enemies and stuff like that are all like in her head kind of thing, and so it's more like a journey through her dealing with the pain and the sorrow and the depression that comes from losing the loved one. So, but it looks fantastic, like beautifully done. Now, especially because of the wins and where it won in this, I'm incredibly excited to play this game. So I actually saw that it's, I think it's on sale right now. So I'm actually probably just going to go ahead and buy it right now because I think it's on sale.
And even if it were on sale, it wasn't a full price game in the first place.
No, it's $30 full price.
Yeah. So I mean, if it's on sale even more than that, then no excuses. Anyone that wants to play it should go play it because it does look very interesting.
Yep.
Another kind of indier game that did also reasonably well was Edith Finch.
Yeah, which I had really not heard that much about.
They won a couple of different the full title is What Remains of Edith Finch, which from what I know of it is a very short, like max 2 to 3 hour indie game where you are playing as from like the first person perspective of the last person in a long line of a cursed family. Mm-hmm. And it's basically just people would compare it to a walking simulator, which, say what you will about people using that term, I think it's just a phrase for, hey, a narrative experience. And I think it wound up winning Best Narrative, didn't it?
Let me check real quick. I believe you're right. Let me get onto it. Come on now. I thought I was right there.
I'm reasonably certain I'm correct about that.
Yeah, no, I think you are too. All right. What the hell? Did I pass it already? I think I passed it already.
Oh, well, I'm looking at it now and it did. So, yes, it won Best Narrative.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, as I scroll through everything. Yeah, so that one looked pretty interesting too. I hadn't really... I think I'd always somewhat like associated it as a similar game to Vanishing of Ethan Carter because it's Edith, the names are somewhat similar. So I thought like it was another one from that studio, but no, it looks like an interesting one too that I might check out at some point. But everything else that won in the categories it won, except for when it was up against Horizon, I was pretty like, yeah, that makes sense with what it was. I
was thinking that Nier Automata won Best Soundtrack. I was like, yes, nice. My top pick from last time.
Which honestly, like, I knew from like what little I had listened to it that was going to be a pretty good soundtrack. But like in my head, I'm pretty sure actually the one I did vote for was Destiny 2. I think in that one because the Destiny 2 soundtrack's really good. Of course, now I've listened to more of Cuphead's, and oh my god, I love Cuphead's soundtrack now. Cuphead's soundtrack is so good.
I was wondering if Cuphead was going to win because obviously I wanted either Nier or Persona 5 to win, but Cuphead was also in there, and their soundtrack is very unique to match their unique art style. So I feel like if they had won, it still would have been well deserved.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Speaking of Persona 5, they did win the category of Best RPG, which very much I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
nice.
So. Let me see. Anything else that was kind of interesting? Oh, I thought one that was kind of interesting was the VR category. The Resident Evil 7 won that one, and I'd heard a lot about like Super Hot and Lone Echo and like Farpoint. So I was kind of interested. I hadn't really heard many reactions to playing Resident Evil 7. So when they were like, "Yeah, that one won," I was like, "Oh, okay." So.
That'd be horrible.
I will say that the category I'm the most butthurt about, like I'm legitimately mad, is Best Fighting Game.
Oh, yeah.
Tekken 7 win. What the hell?
It lost to Injustice 2.
Oh,
I'll sue. I'm gonna sue somebody. That is some horse apples right there.
It really is. I was surprised by that one because I'm pretty sure I voted for Tekken 7 just because of how much I'd heard from. I mean, I hadn't played it, but I'd heard from that from you.
The awards are rigged.
It's a scam.
Yep.
It's a scam.
So, but yeah, it was. I don't know. I feel like that was the most of my reaction to it. Is I was just like, I mean, it was a good show. It was really great. I mean, they had a lot of really cool announcements and different stuff like that. It was cool to see all the different things they were announcing. A lot of different games and like world premiere trailers and stuff and different things like that. Did you guys see the moment with the guy? Oh, crap, I kind of forget his name. The guy developing A Way Out.
Who shouted "fuck the Oscars" like on live TV? That was pretty funny.
It was good. Let me get his name real quick.
What did he say?
So
there was just some rando guy that a person was interviewing during the Game Awards, which is live, and like out of nowhere, out of like left field, he's just like "fuck the Oscars," and like no one had time to even censor him, so he's just like, "Oh no."
Well, I mean, and then the nice thing is, at least, is that the Game Awards are just streamed online, so they don't have to hold to the same censoring things as everything else. But Jeff Keighley, the host, was just having you could see it all over his face that he was freaking. He was just like, "Oh my God, shut up, dude!" It's Joseph Fares, he's the developer. He's the head of the studio developing A Way Out. But yeah, it was just supposed to be this quick thing, like, "Hey man, tell us about your game," and then show a trailer. And it was literally a 3-minute thing because Jeff Keighley couldn't get the guy to stop talking, and he just kept being like, "This is the shit, man. This is the shit. Fuck the Oscars." He even at one point looked at the camera, flipped directly into the camera, flipped it off, and said, "Fuck the Oscars. Fuck you."
That's crazy.
It was so weird. I don't like everybody was like, "Oh, he had to have been hella drunk." And I'm like, and so, but for every comment of people being like, "Oh, he was so drunk and wasted, but that made the show." And then everybody was like, "Well, he got me to want to play his game now, so I guess it worked." So
I feel like he probably wasn't even drunk. I think he was just like legitimately so excited to be there that he's like, "You know what? Fuck the Oscars."
I know. It was
let his emotions fly.
It was just so bizarre. But I did one of the games though that was announced that I was like, "Ooh, this looks pretty good." Is that was Witchfire? It's like it kind of looked Doom-esque, but also like it was if you were to do a first-person shooter of Bloodborne.
Huh.
Yeah, it kind of did. And then, Zach, if you missed it, you'll be excited for this one. The people that made Firewatch are making a new game called In the Valley of Gods.
Oh.
And it's going to be kind of Firewatch-esque, but it's going to take place, I think, in Egypt in some form or another, and I believe that you are playing as like the first person's perspective of the main character, but you still have your companion, which is like your Delilah kind of more or less. But she's actually there in person, and you're like exploring the ancient Egyptian tombs. So I'm really excited for that one. That was a really neat out of left field announcement.
Yeah.
I first thought it was going to be a VR title. But because of
looks like it could actually translate to that format really well.
Because doesn't it show like your hands or like you're at least like grabbing things and stuff in front of you? So like it looked very VR when I was, especially like in the look controls and everything when they were showing off in the trailer. But I mean, so yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they're like, "Yeah, you can play it in VR too," a little later. But yeah, so
really interesting.
It
and then the
interesting.
other announcement that absolutely no one saw coming, but that I'm so glad they actually did confirm, Bayonetta 3 is coming.
Oh yeah.
Bayonetta 3 is eventually going to be a Switch exclusive. So it's only going to be on the Switch. And bonus in addition to that, next year, as of February 2018, Bayonetta's 1 and 2 are being ported to the Switch as a bundle game.
Yep.
So you'll now be able to get both Bayonetta 1 and 2, and if you didn't own a Wii U, obviously you never got to play Bayonetta 2. So this might be a lot of people's only opportunity to play Bayonetta 2 if they weren't able to do it on the Wii U, because, the original Bayonetta was both for Xbox and PS3, So it had a little bit more of a better platform. Bayonetta 2 had no platform. It had the Wii U.
Yeah.
So now everybody gets to play it on Switch.
Nice.
But yeah, so that was kind of out of left field, and I did not see that coming at all. So that was pretty sweet too. Let's see. Anything else that jumped out to you, Mogan, at all that you saw? Really? I mean,
what?
Oh, I was just saying, if anything else kind of like jumped out to you, I mean, like I said, everything else pretty much fell in line with how I thought it was going to go. Like I knew, like Mario Odyssey won Best Family Game, which I was like, yeah, duh. I was surprised, although I guess Zelda won Action Adventure. Zelda won a few different things. So that one, yeah, wasn't as surprising. But yeah, like 75% of the way through the show, I suddenly sat there and was like, wait, Horizon hasn't won anything. And I got so mad. Man.
It's like, wait a minute. What's going on?
I mean, I get it. Like, a game doesn't necessarily speak to everybody in the same way, but to not win anything?
Like, yeah.
They're probably very
disappointed. Oh, man.
The other things that were just sort of announcements that got people really talking are the absolutely nothing teaser trailer from Software.
Yes.
So, Zach, if you don't know, From Software, they're the people that made the Blood Souls, Demonborn. So people think that it might be Bloodborne 2 potentially. But yeah, so From Software, they did the Dark Souls series, they did Bloodborne, so all of the fans of that type of game are freaking out. But the trailer was literally nothing. It was like 10 seconds of skeleton, maybe. No one's really sure.
Like pulling a string really tight or something like that. Like it was very. Yeah. It showed nothing.
Yeah. The idea is that I think it might be Bloodborne 2, which would be really exciting. And then, of course, we do have to talk about Kojima's new game, Death Stranding.
Absolutely.
And the bonkers trailer for that one.
Trailer. Yeah.
So, I know you've seen it. What did you think about it?
I loved it. I think Kojima is like if he was like he's like an auteur. He can like kind of do whatever he wants, and it comes like and it's his style. Like I don't know how he makes like the stuff that he does so somehow grounded. There's something about that show where everything seems like it is bonkers and like nothing I guess makes sense, but there's like elements of it, like their little backpack radar systems that just seems like it seems like there's a lot of thought behind everything. It's not like weird for the sake of weird. It feels like there's actually a little bit of motivation behind everything, which I think he is good at. When I play Metal Gear Solid 5, as like crazy and bizarre as it is, there's enough like melodrama and actual story to make you feel for these people. So like I don't know, I was really excited. I was like, this is actually hitting all the right buttons for me. I thought it was cool.
Very interesting because grounded is not even close to the words I would use.
There's actually a whole lot of floating that happens.
Yeah,
yeah, he's got his. That is his thing. Like
now that's absolutely
does
true.
That very well. Yeah, very recognizable. Because it looks like a Metal Gear Solid cutscene too. He just does these one-shot stuff, and I kept thinking it was going to go into third-person view and just turn into like Metal Gear game. Yeah,
and who knows? It very well could. We still basically know, based on the trailer, we still know nothing about Death Stranding. It could just be anything.
That's what I was like. I was tweeting different things during the show, and that came on, and I was like, I still have no idea what the hell this is, but I still cannot wait to play it. It looks so interesting.
He's making the most interesting games. He makes some of the most interesting games. And it's some of the best games. Metal Gear Solid is like one of the most. It's just. You got to give him credit. It's like this is he's like at the height of his power, and he also has like complete creative freedom. It looks like, which is interesting.
Well, because he's running his own studio now, he doesn't have to rely on Konami. So
or it could be a disaster.
It could do, but he's totally
out of control.
He's definitely just at the point where he can do whatever he wants to do because he's Hideo Kojima. And so, that could either result in something that's truly fantastic or truly terrible. So
he's like writing him letters that are like, Kojima, we know you're off your medication. We think that you come back. We're worried about you. They're probably just like concerned parents over on the side. They're like, he's going off the rails.
I even like that Norman Reedus, when he and Kojima came out onto the stage, he was like, I don't know what that was.
confused.
I don't know what's going on here either. I'm just as confused as you guys are. And Kojima's just standing there like, I have you all wrapped around my finger.
Yeah, seriously.
Hilarious.
It was some pretty good stuff. Let's see.
I mean, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah,
It
I
was
don't
a
really
pretty
think.
nice show.
Yeah, I don't really think I had any much else to it. It was I was surprised how long the show went for. It started at 7:30. I mean, they started the pre-show at 7:30, but I mean, they were still announcing awards. Like they announced Trending Gamer at that one, which went to Dr. Disrespect. And then, which I've actually watched a little bit of his stuff, and he is pretty good. Like I remember seeing this one video of his where like he's chatting with a fan of his. Actually, they're playing PUBG, and he's chatting with a fan. Which, side note, thank God that didn't win Game of the Year. End of side note. But he's like chatting with a fan of his, but the fan doesn't know that he's actually playing with him, and the fan like goes on to just like. He like brings it up, talking about himself, and acting like he's just another fan too. Like, oh yeah, he's a cool guy. But this fan like turns out to like be like a super fan. Like says like how much he loves him and how much he watches playing, and he like has to like stop playing, get up and walk away because he like starts crying. Dr. Disrespect does
That's
because like to be
cute.
able to interact with a fan in that way in like a totally real, genuine moment. And so he seems like a pretty fun guy to watch. But yeah, everything seemed to go. But like I was saying, it was like. It started at 7:30 and I think ended close to 11. Like it was
a deal.
Yeah. It's right up there with the Oscars in terms of runtime. So, but yeah, I don't really have much else to go on. It was pretty cut and dry, as it were. Except I'm still just not quite over Horizon losing. But I've said that several times already, so I won't harp on that anymore. Except I will never let it go. But. Because I immediately then woke up the next morning. We had snow on the ground here in Austin, which last time that's happened, which I was like, oh, that's wonderful. But then it reminded me of the new Horizon DLC, The Frozen Wilds, and I immediately had to turn on the soundtrack and cry. Oh, man. All right. Well, that pretty much wraps up our recap of the 2017 Game Awards. We'll see you, tomorrow by the time you're watching this for the next full episode of Team Chat Podcast, where we will give our 2017 year in review episode. So come back and join us for that tomorrow. But until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined virtually over the power of the internet by Rachel Mogan.
Bye. You usually say to your side. You didn't give
but
me
now that you're in front of me, sorry. Okay, I messed it up. I'm sorry. But
bye.
But joined by Rachel Mogan and then Zachary Parks.
Peace out.
We're not used to this over the internet thing. It's thrown us off. All right. Well, we will see you all next time.